I believe that I would beat anybody on your roster that's under 10 fights. Anyone.
So
any weight.
Any weight.
Any weight.
Perfect.
I will beat anybody on your roster.
I've got about 400 of them.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Let's run it up.
Jake Paul's fight with Mike Tyson had brought about negative reviews from Eddie Hearn, a prominent name in boxing. And now, despite his sharp criticisms, Hearn has offered one of his fighters for Jake to take on. Jake thinks he can easily defeat any fighter under Eddie Hearn, who has under 10 fights no matter the weight class.
Can do that.
Any one of your fighters that has under 10 fights, easy.
Okay.
So
a cruiserweight?
Literally any weight.
Okay. So
any weight.
That might be a little tough because Hearn has about 400 fighters, but he recommended a name. He picked out the name of a fighter who has only fought one professional match, and that's it.
Chev Clark.
Give me your best real boxer.
Chev Clark, 1-0, right? Boxed in the Olympics, didn't medal. 1-0, just had one professional fight. He's a cruiserweight. You can have him.
Jake added that he's betting $1 million that he can take on any fighter that Hearn throws at him who has under 10 fights.
Yeah, okay. I already said I'm down. We're betting $1 million. I'm taking on anyone on your roster with under 10 fights. No problem. And that's right now, too. Just wait till...
Jake was initially eyeing Canelo Alvarez during his fight with Mike Tyson, and despite many fighters calling him out to fight, he didn't agree to any one of them. He confirmed with Hearn that in a couple of years he will go for Canelo Alvarez.
Just wait till... Just give me a couple of years, bro. Ooh, I'm coming for your boy Canelo.
Yeah?
I'm coming for your boy Canelo.
Meanwhile, Artur Beterbiev had called Jake out to fight him. Beterbiev boasts an impressive professional record of 21-0, with 20 victories by knockout, making him undisputed, dangerous, and way out of Jake's league. But shortly after Jake's fight with Mike, he had posted on his Instagram to say, "What can you do in the ring against the current undisputed champion?" Jake was in shock and awe of his newfound popularity that had enough pull to rake in an undisputed champion. He took to X to say that he's just 4 years into the sport, but has already made a name for himself in it. "Just seen this top 5 pound-for-pound fighter in the world calling me out. Ha 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 ha. 4 years in and I run this sport." Many were left confused as to why such a huge fighter would go for a guy like Jake Paul. Some accused him of wanting a big payday, while others thought he wanted revenge for Mike's loss. Beterbiev later explained that his first reaction was to call out Jake because he defeated one of his favorite fighters.
But you know, it's like my favorite boxers is Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. And when Jake Paul win over Mike Tyson, and it's my first reaction, like, you know, I want to do something, like, and I tell him, like, if you want real boxing, like, let's do it.
He added that even though he knows the fight was just business to a certain level, it still upset him to watch the fight. But with his record and expertise, it's apparent he only needs a couple of rounds in the ring with Jake.
If an offer came, would you definitely fight Jake Paul?
Yeah, I will do a couple rounds.
Couple rounds. What would you do to him?
Just box.
Okay. And Jake will probably watch this, so if you look at the camera, what message do you have for Jake Paul?
I already say everything. No need to say more.
And location?
Yeah.
But it seems like Beterbiev doesn't think Jake is worth it anymore. He shared that he was just upset to see one of his favorite fighters lose, so he wanted a payback where he can teach this novice boxer a lesson. However, after a couple of days, he seemed to have calmed down and isn't focused on Jake anymore. That's because he has a rematch with Dmitry Bivol, whereas Jake is nowhere near his level. But if Jake was to accept this fight, Beterbiev promises to show him real boxing.
Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson, one of my favorite boxers, and it's my first reaction, like, I want to pay him back, you know. That's why. But after a couple of days, it's good. I don't want to fight with him. If he won, yes, but I think he doesn't like to fight me.
Beterbiev thinks Jake has some skills, but doesn't view him as a threat or even a good boxer. This is a popular opinion, considering that Jake's opponents so far have all been either influencers, retired fighters, or old fighters like Mike Tyson, who are way past their prime.
I show him box, a little bit boxing, real box, you know.
Do you think he's a good fighter?
He has good skills like boxing, but he's not that good, I think so.
When asked about Jake's fight with other fighters, Beterbiev confidently said that they would win over Jake and would show him how boxing really is. He even sided with a fighter he doesn't even know.
Jake Paul. I think it's easy fight for Dubois.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I don't know him. Who is it?
Chavez Jr. won the world title at middleweight. Hasn't fought for a number of years.
I think yes, because any boxer can do good box with him.
Another more probable contender has been KSI. He's another YouTuber turned boxer who started his career alongside Jake. He's currently the owner of Misfits Boxing, which is a boxing promotional company. After Jake's win over Tyson, KSI was expected to be one of his next fights, but that fight is also not happening, and KSI spilled the beans on why that is. He thinks that Jake's manager, Nakisa Badarian, is terrified of KSI versus Jake.
It's all down to Nakisa. Let me tell you the situation, all right? This is sum it all up for you guys. Me versus Jake is this huge fight that Nakisa sees, and he's terrified of it.
This is mostly because if KSI were to defeat Jake, Nakisa's entire empire and all the hype built around Jake being this incredibly powerful boxer would fall apart. According to KSI, Nakisa wants to squeeze out as much money as possible using Jake's controversial fame and fights, so both Jake and his manager would opt for an easier fight every single time, like a retired and old Mike Tyson to capitalize on the win from a man double his age.
If I fight Jake and beat him, everything, his whole empire, MVP, collapses. Like, there is no MVP. That's why, for him, Nakisa's sake, he's there like, let me just squeeze all the money I can get from Jake before we eventually maybe go for the KSI Jake Paul fight. That's just it. It's just business, straight business with Nakisa. And he'd much rather have an easier fight. He'd much rather fight someone like Mike Tyson. Well,
KSI added that anyone who thought that Mike would have been an actual powerful contender was swayed by his old reputation and the hype that Jake built. It was all a trap to make it seem like Tyson has a chance when he never really did.
I've talked to a few people who thought Mike Tyson actually had a chance. People bet 200 pounds, 300 pounds here. Oh, Mike Tyson, it's Mike Tyson. Like, there's people who are actually stupid enough to bet on an OAP Mike Tyson. So it is what it is. Jake Paul would much rather fight easy opponents and get the bag than fight someone like me who would be very challenging.
Chael Sonnen is actually disappointed in all the professional boxers who are calling Jake out now after his fight with Tyson when they didn't before. Jake has been calling out many fighters, but none took him seriously until his fight with Tyson that broke record numbers and made millions.
Boxers had no balls for years, and all of a sudden today they've all found their balls and they want to fight Jake Paul. Jake was looking for opponents. He said names as high as Conor McGregor. He said names as high as Canelo Alvarez. I mean, all of these boxers that have all of a sudden found their balls should be ashamed of themselves. Nobody should be calling out Jake Paul today that wasn't willing to fight him prior to record numbers coming in. If we can cut to the chase, it's a cash grab. So how do we solve that problem?
On the other hand, Danny Brown does not want to hear about Jake Paul fighting anymore. He already had paid for Netflix, so he's grateful he didn't have to pay to watch that fight. But the thing is, there's no Jake Paul fight that he'd actually pay to watch. For this fight with Mike, he did crack and streamed it, but no more. The only way he would pay to see Jake fight is if he does something insane and impossible, like fight a transsexual midget.
Thank God it was free on Netflix. I guess it ain't free when you're paying for Netflix, but I ain't buying no goddamn Jake Paul fights no more. He got me a couple times. I'm gonna be going out on crackstreams.com.
Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson.
He might as well just fight a midget next. Like, fuck it. I'm gonna fight a transsexual midget. That's the only way I'm gonna buy a ticket.
I bet see he'd get you on that one.
Yeah, I get that shit. I go, hell yeah, I love to see that.
Yeah. Frank Smith feels that Jake would be demolished by any fighter at this point, even some older fighters who are looking to make a return Mike Tyson style into boxing.
At 45 or 46 or something, becoming the oldest heavyweight champion in the world.
Do you think that's Mike Tyson inspired?
I would rather see Klitschko Jake Paul. Imagine the job Klitschko would do on Jake Paul.
I'd rather see Bellew Jake Paul.
Oh, that'd be a great fight. Bellew, not a great fight. I mean, sorry, Bellew. I'll take that back. I didn't mean it that way. I meant that would be.
Tony.
I meant that
Tony.
would be great because Bellew would absolutely destroy him. But you know, like
Smith added that he has respect for Jake Paul for all the work he's doing. For Smith, Jake is an entertainer and puts up fights that mimic WWE, not real boxing.
But you know, like all respect to Jake Paul for what he's done, by the way. Because he's an entertainer, isn't he? It's like WWE. It's not real boxing, let's be honest. But respect him for what he's done as a business, you know, like, because, you know, you cannot say anything differently.
Can I just read this
Jake and Nikisa had commented that Tony Bellew is not comparable to Jake and not as accomplished as the YouTuber turned boxer. To this, Smith said that their egos are way too huge because they set up a brilliant event but are not in the actual sport as of right now.
Jake Paul is so delusional. Like, I said to Nikisa, fair play, amazing event, right? Like, it was an amazing. If you take it for what it is, it was a spectacle. Do you know what I mean? Like, step back about Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, terrible, right? But step back, amazing spectacle. Like, congratulations for what you've done. But look at the ego. Like, they put out, I think.
Eddie Griffin is of the same opinion as Smith, that the fight was nothing but an action event that was choreographed and staged. The one punch that Tyson did throw hit Jake pretty hard and had him hugging the legend, reminding him of the $20 million fine of knocking him out.
Tyson and Jake Paul, I ain't gonna call that a fight. I'm gonna call it what it was. It was a nice action scene. There you go. It was an action scene. It was choreographed like a motherfucker. Tyson was pulling punches and then stopped throwing punches altogether. He hit Jake one time, and Jake flew all the way across the ring, and Jake hugged him and said, "Hey, 20 million.
Griffin feels like a black billionaire should have offered Mike double the amount to whoop Jake into his place and show him real boxing.
20 million. You knocked me out the first round. No money, Mike. No money, Mike. And here's what I'm talking about. If somebody knew Mike needed the money, where's all these black billionaires at? Somebody should have called Mike and say, "Hey, Mike, we'll give you 50 million just to whoop this motherfucker's ass. Don't take a dive for the check. Whoop his ass, and I got a bigger check for you." That's what should have happened, but you know, that's just too much like right.
Griffin even saw the script that was leaked that showed what both fighters would do throughout the fight. He mocked it, stating that one round would be dancing, while the other was scripted for them to hug, and so on and so forth.
Script is out. In case you gotta know, the script is out. Round 1's gonna do this. Round 2, we gonna do that. Round 3, we gonna hug it like. Round 4, we gonna dance, spin you around. It's all on there. So yeah, it was scripted.
Griffin even compared Tyson's training videos to the actual fight, stating that even one fraction of how he was in the videos would have been enough to take down Jake. But in the fight, Tyson barely took his hands away from his face. He just sort of stayed in the same position and did not do much.
In the practice tapes, Mike was lightning fast, doubling up, boop, boop. Now he just did the peekaboo and never threw nothing out there peekaboo. He just did this. And just did this. Yeah, so
Gervonta Davis had called out Jake to fight as well. Griffin shared that Jake said he'd be down to fight Davis, but then brought up a height limit.
Gervonta Davis called out Jake Paul and said he would beat the brakes off of this motherfucker. Jake Paul said he would be down, and then he had the audacity to say, "Is there a height limit in boxing?"
Griffin feels like if Davis doesn't run after the check like Tyson did, he can easily take Jake down, no doubts about it. He again appealed to the billionaires to come together so these fighters stop fighting for money but fight for the real sport, which is unscripted.
We shall see. Unscripted. And that nigga, Gervonta, don't do no Mike Tyson and run for that goddamn check. Nope. And you billionaires out there watching this, goddamn it, if Gervonta needs some money, do what I just told you should have did for Mike. Offer that motherfucker $100 million just to beat the brakes off of Jake Paul.
Mike Tyson was definitely weaker in the fight. One of the most noticeable and worrying aspects was that he kept biting his glove. Some thought he was controlling himself from biting Jake's ear off, while others assumed that he was in pain from his injury. During the fight, the commentators guessed that he might be having issues with his mouthguard. When asked post-fight, Tyson simply said, "I have a habit of biting my glove. I have a biting fixation." However, Teddy Atlas offered some insight as to why he may have done so. Mike Tyson biting his thumb through the glove, that's something that he did in his amateur days, he did in his pro days, and now of course he did it again. He also said that the glove biting may have been a coping mechanism for his nervousness, or to keep himself calm during the fight. It was more of a thing like a pacifier when a kid's unsure. You bite down on something. Why? To suppress those feelings, suppress the doubt, the nervousness, the uneasiness, the insecurities. That's what it is. Saudi Arabia's Turki Al Sheikh, who runs the General Entertainment Authority and turned his nation into a boxing powerhouse, is not happy about Jake winning, and he just put $700 million on the table. Turki said that Jake Paul is a joke. I am giving Mike Tyson $700 million if he agrees to fight Jake Paul this time in a real fight and wins by knockout in a maximum of 3 minutes. While that would make a really entertaining match and the one everyone actually wants to see, it might not be possible. Mike might not be up to the challenge and already secured a good few $1,000,000, especially if the first fight was actually scripted. But even if Mike agrees, Jake and Turkey have a bit of beef among each other. Turkey believes that Jake doesn't like him because he wants him to fight actual boxers and take the sport seriously. Turkey respects Jake and admits that he is a good entertainer with a lot of fans, but if he wants to be taken seriously, he needs to treat the sport as it is and not as a circus. I'll be honest, I like him as part of the younger generation, and he has a lot of fans. My kids are among them. But I think he needs to decide what he really wants. If he wants to be a real boxer, he needs to take on big fights against boxers, not treat it like a show. That's my opinion, because it's damaging to boxing. I know he doesn't like this, especially what I said about his last fight. I said it wasn't boxing, and I'm not joking. He even went as far as to say that if Jake ever decides to take up real boxing, Turkey would support him and even let him be part of Riyadh season. If he wants to continue in this field and be part of the Riyadh season, he needs to fight real boxers. That's my opinion. If he does that, I'll support him. Who do you think Jake should fight next? Would you watch another Jake Paul fight? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more.